Are you serious? Are you serious, folks? Welcome to another great broadcast. And I'm serious, guys. Hang on to your seats because we got so many key issues that are literally affecting the world simultaneously that I've not seen a situation like this in a long time. First of all, Nancy Pelosi says the Democrats should not impeach Trump. She says no to impeachment. Are you serious? They're freaking out there on the Capitol Hill right now because the Speaker of the House says, no, you know what? He's not even worth impeaching. We're just going to move on. Guys, are you serious? I don't think we should go down this path, she says, because it divides the country. Speaker Nancy Pelosi blinks, shocking members of the Democratic Party, leaving people almost in a coma, leaving folks short of breath. I'm sure that Maxine Waters is just, they're still trying to find her, okay? Not knowing what the reaction up there is unbelievable. Guys, we need to know, this is just one subject here. But I want to read this before we bring on our guest. Here's what it says. Quote Nancy Pelosi, I'm not for impeachment. The California Democrat said in an explosive interview last night, impeachment is so divisive to the country that unless there's something so compelling and overwhelming and bipartisan, I don't think we should even go down this path because it divides the country, Pelosi said, and he's just not worth it. All right, well, let's just bring in the expert. You got this, you got Boeing, you got Venezuela. What about Brexit? What about the Green New Deal? We need help understanding where we're going with all of this. Our guest today, expert Bob Cutler from TradeGeniusAcademy.com. Bob, great to have you.
Hey, Paul, thanks for having me. And yeah, I think all this stuff is tied together. It's we're stretched at the seams, politically, socially, economically, spiritually. Everything is at extremes at this point, and all these things are I think are going to cause some really, really volatile times here going into our election, but not just our election. I mean, you have Italy that is ready to come apart at the seams. You have Britain, who doesn't know if they want to stay or if they want to go. I think they made a song about that. Germany going into a recession. You got China. Now that people are convinced that China is probably lying about their GDP and their country may be only 1/6 the size they say it is.
What?
And they have debt that is so enormous right now that they have no hope of ever paying it back, which is going to cause all kinds of currency issues. And then here in the U.S., I think the Democrats probably got a peek at that Mueller report and said, hey, we've been screwing around with this thing for 3 years, and it's a nothing burger. In the meantime, Trump is sitting on all this other information that he would just relish to have, put me in impeachment, sit me in front of the House of Representatives, and every one of you that are going to interrogate me, I'll be whipping out data points on how you are actually colluding with the Russians, how you are violating state secrets, how you are violating, House rules and constitutional law. And I think Nancy Pelosi said, I better put a lipstick on this pig and move on. And then you got the crazies that are coming out of the left like I've never seen before. It's like, I guess this is the true zombie apocalypse. I mean, between AOC and Elizabeth Warren and I don't even know the names of half these people. They want to take all your money and then all your income and then let you work for free or not work at all. I mean, where are these people from? So it's just like a target-rich environment, and it's a great environment to trade in, believe it or not.
That might have been the greatest dialogue. That might have been the greatest monologue I've ever heard. I mean, nobody could have summed that up any better, folks, than Bob Cutler of Trade Genius Academy. No wonder this man's a genius. He's right. He's a genius. And, let's just stop for a second, Bob, because, I mean, you're having so much success with your company. People that are trading with you, people who are learning how to trade are so excited. But just that simple analogy of the crazies. Like you said, AOC, she's really out there with the Green New Deal. And then, Elizabeth Warren, like you said, and of course, Bernie Sanders, we don't know what planet he's on. And then, don't forget, you got Omar, the criticism of the Jewish people, the anti-Semitism. So all of this is just insane. But you've thrown out some breaking news information here when you said China's GDP might be 6 times smaller than they've been bragging about. I mean, that's insanity. Are you sure about this, Bob?
It's way overestimated. Yeah, China is not nearly as big as they say they are, and their growth is not nearly what they say they are. There's people are starting to measure, imports and exports, electricity rates, and electricity usage. Coal shipments, oil shipments coming into the country, iron ore, copper, and they're like, whoa, we may be dealing with, a new Soviet Union here, big paper tiger. And at the same time, the president or premier, is a Mao wannabe. And there's some great articles, actually, in the New York Times. I think the progressives are freaking out about the socialists because all of a sudden, WAPO and New York Times are starting to get more balanced coverage out there. They're probably thinking to themselves, "Hey, Trump ain't that bad," and so they've been putting these articles out about in China that they're basically destroying their entrepreneurial, it's their culture and going back to government control of things, and they're disappearing people, and so architect China is nothing to worry about economically for us long term. They may have other issues because when they implode, but you can't have an autocratic government survive. And so what people are thinking now is all the local governments are overestimating their growth, and as it rolls up, everybody adds to it. Just like the Roman tax collectors in Jesus' time, Paul, how the collector had to collect $5,000, but he took $10,000 because he knew he had to throw $5,000 up. And by the time it got up to Caesar, people took 3 times the amount of money that Caesar wanted. And that's the same thing was happening in China. They put these estimates on top of estimates on top of estimates, and they're all fake, just so they don't lose their jobs at the local level. And it's going to all come crashing down. The bad news for us is when China devalues their currency, they're gonna wash deflation across the entire world, and that's going to affect the stock market. And those are things that people need to be aware of because it happened in 2015, and we had an 18% fall in the stock market in 5 weeks. And you can't just fix that by having the Federal Reserve just in there trying to buy stuff because people are absolutely selling. And they'll just overwhelm anybody trying to bid that back up until it reaches a lower level. So there's some really serious stuff going on out there, Paul.
Folks, it's Bob Cutler with TradeGeniusAcademy.com. You could always go to his website at www.tradegeniusacademy.com. Great information he has available there for you. Or you could even pick up the phone and call if you're interested in entering into his university to learn how to his school of trade. Matter of fact, the phone number is 1-800-949-1408. That's 1-800-949-1408. Bob, one more thing on this impeachment thing before I move on. I want to ask you about Boeing, but certainly the speaker's statement will almost certainly provoke future divisions in our already fracturing caucus on the Hill. Many progressives, as you said, have called on their colleagues to begin impeachment proceedings against President Trump, while Pelosi and her leadership team have said Democrats should wait and see what the special counsel Robert Mueller's III, his report is before evaluating that step. So she's calling it off, guys. She's got a glimpse of it, like you said. And even as more Democrats jump on this impeachment train, after former Trump attorney Michael Cohen did that phenomenal, whatever that was, testimony before the Oversight Committee, Pelosi is already saying, let's wait and see. I don't think we should. So, Bob, what do you think about Michael Cohen's testimony, though, in a way? I mean, is he helping Trump with this, or did he hurt Trump?
Cohen's a liar. He sounded like sour grapes. The stuff that he testified to sounded like a personal attack. There was nothing in there saying, here's the evidence of him doing anything other than probably what every other rich person does with an attorney, in terms of, conducting your business. So, and there's nothing there. Cohen just, Cohen exposed himself for whom he is. So there's nothing there. There's no there. And the reason why Pelosi can't move forward on the impeachment thing is that there's enough people in her caucus that will not vote for impeachment because they reside in states that Trump has carried, and the Republicans are going to be 100% behind Trump, so she'll lose the vote anyway. And so the Democrats run the risk of actually having the majority, but being a minority in terms of ruling because they can't get their caucus to actually agree on any policy decision, because the way out left group is simply out of control, and the caucus that Pelosi has firmly in her camp, is not enough to carry in legislation that the Republicans will support. So they effectively neutered themselves, Paul.
Okay, now as this is all going on, and again, I'm with you. I agree 1,000%. Your analyzation of this is right on the money. Boeing, and we're going to talk about Venezuela in a little bit, folks, and Brexit in a little bit. But Boeing, this is kind of weird. Even, I mean, you got this brand new plane, this Boeing 737 Max 8. A brand new one, crashes in Indonesia just after takeoff. And 4.5 months later, another Boeing 737 MAX 8 crashes in Ethiopia just after takeoff. Now, the United States, the FAA has cleared Boeing these planes. They are safe. Go ahead and fly them. Yet, you can understand Indonesia, maybe Ethiopia, or even China for deciding for some reason to ground the planes. But when the United Kingdom and Ireland and some of the others did, yet the United States says, no, they're okay. Stock is going nuts. How does this, what's this doing to Boeing stock, and how does that affect the whole market?
Yeah, well, Boeing affects the Dow, which it did the last 2 days. And Boeing stock, is the best performing Dow stock for the last couple of years. So even without this, the stock was probably overvalued, but long-term Boeing is just fine. And let me explain. So these new airplanes that come out are highly automated, and they also require a higher level of professionalism. And in Asia especially, and probably Africa too, there's a high degree of reliance on autopilot for the planes. Okay, do you remember the Chinese jet that crashed coming into a landing into San Francisco a couple years ago?
Yes,
Because
I do.
They had autopilot on the land of plane. Well, in the U.S., there's just simply no way. And in the U.S., we have a lot of people that are pilots that have been flying since they're 10, 12, 13 years old. A lot of these people in these other countries, they're never even in a cockpit, unless they're in the military, until after they join an airline. And so the level of experience is very, very low compared to U.S. pilots. And the level of training is very, very low compared to U.S. pilots.
So you feel...
And also in Indonesia, they had that they didn't upgrade the software that was given out to from Boeing. And Ethiopia, we don't know still if they did or did not. But in the U.S., it trained extensively on how to overcome whatever this scenario is that's happening on takeoff with these two airplanes. That's why the U.S. has not grounded its Supermax fleet, probably because every airline has already upgraded their software. And number two is they've already been training this scenario through. And number three, they're not flying autopilot coming off the ground. So I think longer term, this will all come out. And then, for Boeing's standpoint is that they're going to need to spend a lot more time with these foreign carriers to make sure these people are up to speed. I think Europe and China are just being justifiably nervous because they have a lot of their citizens fly on onto these other secondary carriers, where the U.S., most of us are domestic.
All right, I think you're right. It's in the black box. They found the black box. They're going to analyze that, but it's looking more like, in your opinion, and I've been feeling this way as well. It's probably pilot error, or like you said, Ethiopia didn't upgrade the software. When it comes to Indonesia, it could have been it was a very inexperienced pilot. Also in Ethiopia, it was a very inexperienced pilot. Had less than 200 hours. Okay, so it's a brand new plane. Haven't updated the software. The guy's only been in a cockpit 200 hours on commercial flights, compared to America. So I'm with you on that. I think Boeing will be just fine on that, and we'll find out probably in the next day or two. What about we got to go to Venezuela before we even go to the Brexit. I mean, Venezuela, the lights have been out now. This is day 6. The food is rotted. You have no refrigeration. So they already had shortages of food the way it was. Water, they're drinking out of drainage sewage, water. Look, the wheels are coming way off. And I guess my first question is, who did it? I mean, did Maduro just let the system fall apart? Some people think Maduro says the United States did it. I mean, what's your opinion, and where do we go from here? I mean, what's going to be the next? Are we talking civil war, or will somebody resign? What's going to happen?
I don't know. I mean, they've been keeping the visibility in Venezuela fairly low of late. Look, Maduro, he's not going to be able to. He's not going to be able to outlast this. At some point, Colombia and Brazil will get involved if they have to, because they don't want millions of refugees coming into their countries. The U.S. is more tangentially engaged with that, and but I think it's an object lesson. And I'm going to cough. I apologize.
It's okay.
Been fighting a cold for a month. I think tangentially we're involved, but it's more of an object lesson for us in the U.S. And I think what we have to do is we have to tie Venezuela and show people there's corollaries in the United States. You pick any inner city in the United States, and you have the same kind of system of government run. Patronage, no obligations, money goes to whoever's more politically connected versus where it's needed, and then underinvestment in infrastructure and programs because you're paying off political, connections and so on and so forth. And I think that's where the right needs to make those connections for people around the United States to see. But Venezuela is going to be a failed state. I think because it has so many natural resources, once they get Maduro out of power, they'll probably go ahead and start the slow recovery. But I think it's going to take help from the stronger sisters in South America to get that thing back on the right train here. You need Chile, you need Brazil, you need Colombia in there helping them set up a system of government that's going to be durable this time. But to me, it's more of an object lesson than anything else, saying if this is what you want, this is what free everything does. This is AOC's Green New Deal. When you say to manufacturers, you can only charge so much for your product, even though that costs more than you price it for less than what it costs. Well, of course, you're going to get shortages because people can only do that for so long, even if they want to, before they're unable to. And that's what happened in Venezuela. They just put price caps on everything, and you ended up with nothing. And that's what they want to do here in the United States. And the good news is polling data is rejecting this form of government. So we'll see.
It's great. This, folks, again, Bob Cutler, TradeGeniusAcademy.com. That's www.tradegeniusacademy.com. Phone number 1-800-949-1408. That's 1-800-949-1408. And Bob has a great academy. He can help you. He's running some great spring specials that are good until Saturday night. Okay, we got them on the screen for you. Learn how for crypto and binary option trading. See that? Get in on that program. Matter of fact, he's going to tell you some of the successes they're having there. The other one as well. Get in on these programs. Bob, you got a spring special also called Renewals Are Welcomed. It's about annual ETFs, binary options, cryptocurrencies, buy, sell, signal service. chat room access, and then there's the other one, okay, the spring special with the stock trader situation and everything involved in it. You see all the goodies that go with this, guys. And he's running this special deal till Saturday night, midnight. Bob, tell us a little bit about some of the successes here recently. I mean, you guys are really, really on top of it.
Yeah, Paul, ever since they stopped subduing the market volatility, from last July, last August, the way we trade requires the market to move up and down. And once they, for whatever reason, they were no longer able to hold the market in this like really tight day-to-day action, is that the way we trade has exploded. And, we're averaging annualized 250% gains. I showed you our last 3 trades. I sent those out. We closed those today. And we've been focusing on getting out of the stock market and getting more into the commodity side because of what's happening with the Federal Reserve and with our government. And, we're closing deals at 5-10% a week versus the whole year's worth of gains in the stock market has been 10% over the last 2 years. So we're just doing really, really well. And not just there, we're helping people learn how to day trade. And binary options is the way people can day trade with very small amounts of money. And then cryptocurrencies, just like gold and silver, they've been suppressing it because it's a competition to the government fiat system. That's been on fire. So across the board, we're doing extremely well. We built algorithms to help guide us in terms of where the buying pressure is and where the selling pressure is. And it's just getting us set up in the right trades. And we pass those trades on to our subscribers. We also teach people how to look for these trades on their own. And we're just helping people make money nearly every day in the market. And for the last 7-8 months, we've just been en el fuego or en fuego, if you will. We've been on fire. And we see no reason why that's not going to continue, because the government has lost control over how to control the stock market. And that gives people like us who help people trade to make a lot of money and put back control into people's hands, how to build their own wealth or protect their own wealth. So we're pretty excited.
You should be. I mean, great success you're having, Bob. I mean, that's what's amazing. And a great company, Bob's a strong Christian believer and really helping people to take control of their own lives. And I'm going to ask you a question, Bob. AOC, okay, Ocasio-Cortez, and the Green New Deal. What happens to the stock market in a Green New Deal? Does the Green New Deal, the super socialism, even allow for capitalism or stock market? I mean, do they even allow? I mean, do they shut down Wall Street? I mean, what is? I was wondering about that, because when you start reading about their economic plan, I mean, she ran off 25,000 high-paying jobs from Amazon, ran them off to Texas. I can't believe. I mean, what's your opinion? What happens to the stock market if Bernie Sanders wins the presidency and he makes her the economic advisor to the president? What happens to stock market? What happens to the markets?
Well, I mean, it'll certainly crash because, look, all the excess capital beyond, people's daily needs go either into the stock market, the bond market, the real estate market, or into people's businesses, okay? And so what she's talking about is levying such punitive taxation, okay, that'll take it out of the private sector's hands and then drive it into government control, and that money is going to be allocated to their politically connected patrons, and most of those people are going to be operating privately owned enterprises. And so the money's going to have to come out of the stock market for people to pay this taxation. And if Elizabeth Warren gets in, she's going to throw a wealth tax on top of it to boot. And then they're going to do incredibly misallocations. Basically, they're going to be digging holes and filling them back in on some of this stuff. And it'll just be an absolute disaster. They're talking about creating all these jobs. Well, we're running at full employment right now, Paul. I mean, the reason why the employment report was not better last Friday was not because people are being laid off. It's just they can't find enough workers, okay, at the wages that people want to work at. And so that's the area that they need to focus on. So she starts dumping all this hot money into these jobs. Well, they're not going to find the workers, and it's going to be a problem. And they're going to create inflation on top of taking money out of the markets, and it's just going to cause a lot of chaos. So, my view on AOC is that she's there as an agent provocateur. Okay? She's out there. I used to be in the military. I was in the Marine Corps. We call her a feint. She's the peacock saying, "Look at me, look at me, look at me, look at me," and getting everybody focused over there, while the real powers behind the scene are operating somewhere else. So I tell people, don't get hung up on what she says. She's just out there. She's a 30-year-old crazy person just saying whatever comes into her head, and she's getting a lot of press. The people you got to worry about are the power players behind the scenes, and what are they trying to do? And I think what they're going to try to do is they're going to try to present a more attractive candidate who's still going to be pretty socialistic. Okay. That's going to then cause more longer term harm. Look, these people don't care about the economy; they just care about being in control. AOC's out there saying, "We're going to say, whew, we dodged that bullet. We're going to run right into another one." So that's my view on the whole thing, and the Green New Deal and that whole thing. It's just a feint.
Okay, now let's go with that for a minute, because somebody's funding this feint. Somebody plucked this lady out from behind the bar and funded her into the Congress and put her in and have now promoted her everywhere. I mean, is George Soros? Do I smell George Soros money? I mean, and is that because they have a different agenda? As you say, you send out. She's the tip of the spear. You send her out there first. The feint, the peacock, somebody that's getting all the attention, but the real socialistic power brokers who shift governments away from democracies into these socialistic ideals. I mean, is this Soros behind this?
Well, there's also Tom Steyer.
Oh, yeah.
And there's a few other guys. Look, these guys are, the whole progressive movement is really, there's 100 or 200 of us are really, really, really smart people, and we know better than all the plebes out there, and just let us run things. You can live your mundane lives, okay? We'll try to keep the volatility in your life to a minimum. You're going to exist, not live. And in the meantime, we're going to run the world for you, and then we're going to enjoy all the fruits of that. And at the same time, we're going to get really rich because all the money is going to be funneling through us. And the reason why they hate oil so much is because typically resource-rich entities, CEOs, and workers tend to be on the right side of the ledger. I guarantee if oil was a leftist event, we'd never hear anything about fossil fuels. Okay, so it's really a way for them to divert cash from people who don't support them politically into the hands of people who do support them politically, and that's the whole the whole renewable energy thing. And if you notice, nuclear is not even on the agenda because nuclear doesn't benefit any of those people, even though nuclear is really the only way you can run renewables in the world. So it has nothing to do with solving a problem. It has everything to do with controlling a nation or a world. And look, it's their religion, Paul. We talked about this before. These people don't believe in God. So how are they going to rally people? We have the Holy Spirit pricking our conscience all the time, right?
Right.
These people, they're trying to prick our conscience by saying CO2 is going to kill you. Okay? So that's their Holy Spirit. You know what I mean? And so that's what we're dealing with. And these people fervently believe these things. And I mean, these people would be willing to put people to death over non-compliance. So just to show you just how zealot they are. And, they're looking to saying, hey, we got to depopulate the world by, 90%. I mean, there's some crazy stuff that's been memorialized out there. And so you have to take that threat seriously, but look, you have maybe China's funding it because that's competition to them. Maybe Russia's, doing it because, we keep getting into Russia's world, reasons unknown to me. Maybe Europe's funding it because Europe doesn't like the fact that we're independent from them and we broke away from them 300 years ago. There's a lot of reasons why people want to knock America down into shorts, so, but, the good news is that I think a lot of it's is gonna fail. And so, that's all I have to say on that.
What about Brexit? I know we're running out of time here, but I got to get to this. What about Brexit? Folks, this is Bob Cutler, and you can see, this is a powerful interview of just understanding. You got to sometimes take a step back and look at, why, that's what I love about what Bob does. He doesn't just react to the emotions of the situation, but he steps way back and says, why are they doing this? Who's benefiting? What is this craziness about? And so, Bob, Brexit, this is blowing my mind. They just, Theresa May got destroyed again today with some kind of wacky EU proposal again. What is really the deal here? Do they just want to, she wants to stay. Apparently, she wants to stay in the EU and hold hands and sing Kumbaya with Angela Merkel. But the people voted to get out of this. Well, who's benefiting? Who's going to, ultimately, what's going on with this Brexit?
Well, just like here, with the globalists in Europe or in Britain, benefit from having a connection with the EU, and people like to be in charge, Paul. And so if Brexit occurs, it's going to be opposite of what people think. Britain's going to be in the catbird seat. The United States will immediately do a bilateral deal. Germany is absolutely freaked out about Brexit, okay, because they run huge surplus with England. That's why I don't understand all the hand-wringing. We're just being fed a lot of lies because the German auto industry will go into a depression if the EU cuts Britain off after a Brexit vote, okay? So it's not going to happen. That's why Merkel's so engaged here. She's trying to figure a way to save her industries. And now with China slowing down, they got to be doubly worried. I don't know why they're doing what they're doing. I guess they're just trying to wear out the English people, and saying don't ever dare to better your betters, if you will. And but the British people are having none of it. They want out, and I think eventually they'll break away.
Bob, again, this is Bob Cutler with TradeGeniusAcademy.com. That's TradeGeniusAcademy.com. Phone number, if you want to call and find out about how you can enter into his academy and learn how to day trade or get involved, or maybe Bitcoin or gold or silver or some of these precious stones and understand some of this. Look, call the number 1-800-949-1408. That's 1-800-949-1408. And let Bob help you enroll in one of his programs. And he's got a great special going on till Saturday night. Bob, tell me a little about that special that's going on.
Yeah, so we prepackaged some bundles for your listeners, Paul, where we significantly discounted the price, and so people can get access to the trade signals that we put together for cryptocurrencies, for day trading, and for trading the stock market. And we also have what's called trading and chat rooms that are running 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Hundreds of people are in there, and people are always willing to help each other, and we're in there quite a bit ourselves. And then we also have training programs for people that want to learn how to trade on their own. We have software that indicators that load on software that can actually show you the buy and sell signals. I think you can see them on the screen of the charts that we put up there. People have access to those. That's just not for me. And then we also have personal coaching for people who need it. So we have a really good program for people. It's very cost effective. And like I said, we've been doing extremely well. Every one of our trades is tweeted out or texted out or emailed out, and it's memorialized. So, and then we put it out on our track record so people can see when we're making the trades, how to manage your position, and then how well we did. And so it works out really, really well. And we see the same thing happening, Paul, if I could just end with this, is that the stock market is in big trouble because of the mega cap companies are under scrutiny now, and those what are keeping the indexes up, and money is starting to move back into gold and silver miners, energy names, and also into the cryptocurrencies, and that's where we've been trading a lot, and we've been having incredible success, and we can show people how they can do that as well and do really well in the stock market and protect your family and also build wealth. When you have great uncertainty, there's great opportunities. So we like to take action instead of having action take us. So come join us.
All right, folks, there you have it. Bob Cutler, and join his organization. Find out all about it. A great guy, great family man, Christian company. We're just good people, and so we're really proud to be working with them. All right, and until next time, guys, stay right here. I'll keep bringing the folks forward that are making a difference, help informing people about what's taking place in these days we're living in. That's TradeGeniusAcademy.com. That's www.tradegeniusacademy.com. I'll be back with more in just a moment.